Hey guys,
Hi.
our final is around the corner. So have you guys revised the dividend policies topic?
Not yet.
So how about we do the group discussion?
Yeah, okay, sure, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. So guys, let's start with what's mean by dividend policy.
From my opinion, dividend is not only a distribution from earnings, it is also a payment made to the stockholders from the firm earnings. On the other hand, dividend policy refers to the way how firm pays dividend to its shareholders. It is important as it influences investor decision to purchase the stocks. There are 4 steps that firms need to take in order to pay cash dividends. The first one is the declaration date, which is the date on which board of directors declare the dividend. The second step is the date of record, which is the date of which investors must own shares, which means to receive the dividend payment. The third step is the exclusive dividend date. This exclusive dividend date must be 2 business days before the date of record. The date a stock trades exclusive of dividends without the right to receive the current dividend. The last step is the payment due, which is the day the actual dividend payment is made to the shareholders. It is usually 2 weeks or more.
Okay, so now I understand about the dividend policy. So, is there any other theory behind dividend policy?
There are 3 theories that related to dividend policy. The first one is the residual policy of dividend. Residual theory means dividend payment should be viewed as residual, the amount left over after all acceptable investment opportunities have been undertaken. So, there are 3 steps for this approach. The first step is determine optimal level of capital expenditure. Second step, using the optimal capital structure, estimate the total amount of equity financing needed to support the expenditure estimated in step 1. And as the last step is, as the cost of return earning is less than new equity, use return earning to meet the equity requirement in step 2. If inadequate, sell new stock. If there is an excess of return earning, distribute the surplus amount as dividend to shareholders. So, this theory suggests that no cash dividend is paid as long as the firm's equity need is in excess of the amount of return earning. And it suggests that the required return demanded by stockholder is not influenced by the firm's dividend policy. This suggests that dividend policy is irrelevant.
So what are the other theories on dividend policy?
Okay, the other theory is about the irrelevant dividend theory. It's about theory. Theory stated that the value of a firm is unaffected by the distribution of dividend in the perfect financial market. Perfect financial market means there is no tax, no transaction cost, and other market imperfection.
So, why is the value of the firm unaffected by the distribution of dividend?
There is 3 reasons stated by First is the firm value is determined solely by the earning power and risk of its asset investment. Second, if dividend do affect value, they do so because of information content, which signal management future expectation. And the last one is clientele effect, exists that because shareholder to receive the level of dividend they expect. Okay. So, contrary to the dividend irrelevant proponent, Gordon and Lichtner suggest stockholder prefer current dividend and that a positive relationship exists between dividend and also the market value. Fundamental to this theory is the bird in hand argument, which suggests that investors are generally risk averse and attach less risk to current as opposed to future dividend or capital gain, because current dividend are less risky, so investor will lower their required returns, thus boosting the stock price. So, what are the type of dividend policy?
So there are 3 types of dividend policies. So the first one is the constant payout ratio policy. This is where the payment of a specific percentage of earnings to shareholders in each dividend period, which means that if the firm's earnings drop or are volatile, so the dividend payments also will drop. This is where the investors view volatile dividends as harmful and risky, which the share price will decrease. So the second one is the regular dividend policy. This is the payment of a fixed ringgit of dividend in each period. So by regular dividend policy, it will provide the shareholders with positive information indicating that the firm is doing well and it minimises uncertainty. The firm that use this policy will increase the regular dividend once earnings are proven to be reliable. So the last one is the low regular and extra dividend policy. So this policy is about firms pay a little regular dividend supplemented by additional dividends when earnings can support it. So when earnings are higher than normal, the firm will pay this additional dividend. So this extra dividend without the obligation to maintain it during the subsequent periods. This policy is especially used by the companies that experience cyclical shifts in earnings.
Okay, Alisa, is there any other forms of dividends?
There are 3 other forms of dividends. Did you know anything about other forms of dividends?
So the only types of dividend I know is the stock dividend. It is a situation where the firm gives stock as a dividend because they don't have sufficient cash or they want to promote trading of stocks. However, the investor always think that by having the stock dividend, it will increase their wealth, but unfortunately, it will only increase the number of stock they have. So, what are the other types of dividend do I need to know?
So the factors that affect dividend policy, the first one is legal constraint. I guess all of us know about bankruptcy. So when a firm is declared bankrupt, they're legally insolvent. So because of this, they're not allowed to give out dividend to their shareholders. Another factor that affect dividend policy is contractual constraint. With this is it's usually for the case of loan provisions. When you take a loan, usually the lender will put on a required limit on the retained earnings, and if you don't meet the required amount, you're not allowed to pay out dividend. Another way that they put it is they'll put like a fixed percentage of the earnings that you can pay out as dividend, or a fixed amount on payout. The third one is growth prospect. With this is for a company that is growing rapidly, they will require more fundings for their investments. So they won't be able to just use their retained earnings, so they will tend to need to use other sources of income such as that. Whereas for a company that is very stable, they will be able to use their retained earnings to fund their investments.
So I have a question. Does the owner consideration give effect to the dividend policy?
Yes. A good example would be owner's consideration when it comes to tax. So when a shareholder has a large income, they would have to pay more tax. So the company will tend to give less payout so that the owners can defer their tax payments. Whereas for shareholders who have lower income, obviously they need more money. They need the dividend payment, so the company will give out a higher payout.
So what about the market consideration?
For market consideration, there is a theory called catering theory, and with this, they believe that investors' demand on return fluctuate over time. For instance, when during an economic boom, there will be rising in stock market, and the market will require large capital gains. So at that time, it's highly probable that the dividend payout will be higher, whereas during recession that will be a different case, so the payout will be lower. Okay, so I think we've covered everything for dividend policy. So let's go and have lunch.
Let's go.
Let's